Good morning, students. Let us see the fifth subheading, the peculiarities of industrial growth. So, in the last subheadings, we have seen how the European agencies were managing all the Indian industries or the trade, which was before done by the Indians. So, same procedure is going on. So, let us see. So, the European agencies, they dominated the Indian industries or the whatever industrial production was there, that was dominated by European managing agencies. And later on, what we see, they wanted to expand their trade. So therefore, they established tea and coffee plantation, and just they were acquiring land at cheap rates from local government. And also they started dealing in minings. And later on, not only they were cultivating or dealing with tea and coffee, but also they started plantation for indigo and jute. Before they started establishing tea and coffee plantation, and later on they started dealing with minings, as well as they started planting indigo and jute. Now what happened to the Indian businessman? So whereas Indian businessmen began with dealing with yarn, as they did not want to compete with the Manchester goods. So here Indian businessmen began dealing with yarn. Okay, so they started dealing with yarn, as they did not want to compete with the Manchester of goods, because the Manchester of goods were the finest goods, and that was of machine made goods, and that was flooding in the market, and it was very difficult to compete with. So they started dealing with yarn. And here I will tell you, the Indian businessmen were of two types. First, here what we see, the Indian businessmen were just dealing with, they were producing in cotton mills in India, they were just producing coarse cotton yarn rather than fabric. And the second Indian businessmen were just producing superior variety of yarn, and that was of fabric. And the first Indian businessmen, the producing coarse cotton yarn was of only for the poor people. They were producing clothes or yarn only for the poor people. But the second one I told you, the superior variety of fabric cotton was produced, or the clothes was produced, that was only for the rich people. And also they were Indian businessmen, they were just exporting. Indian weavers or businessmen were exporting all the clothes to Indian markets as well as in China. So there was a demand of Indian businessmen producing clothes in China as well as in Indian markets. And next what we see, there was one more event. There was an event that brought the growth of Indian industries So let us see what was the event that led to a growth of Indian industries. That was the Swadeshi movement. Swadeshi movement as well as non-cooperation movement was going on. Mahatma Gandhi has launched Swadeshi movement as well as non-cooperation movement. So when the Swadeshi movement was launched, the nationalists mobilized people to boycott foreign clothes. So the nationalists, Indian nationalists, mobilized people to boycott foreign goods and use Indian goods. Mahatma Gandhi also said to boycott foreign goods and use Indian goods. So industrial groups organize themselves to protect their collective interests. So the industrial groups, they organize themselves. Indian industrial groups organize themselves to protect their mills or industries. So before, the tariff was there, heavy import tariff was there. British had imposed a heavy tariff. So the industrial groups, they pressurized on the government to increase their tariff protection and reduce the tariff of the British imposed in Indian trades. So the tariff which was imposed by the British, heavy tariff was imposed by the British on Indians, that will be reduced, and the Indian trade tariffs will be increased. So this was pressurized by the industrial group, Indian industrial groups. And when they started boycotting foreign goods, the Indian industrial growth was boomed, or the production was also boomed. And then one another event led to the growth of Indian industries, that was First World War. So here, when the First World War was going on, the war created dramatically new situation. So what we see, the British mills, whatever factories were there, whatever British mills were there, that was busy with war production to meet the needs of the army. All the production was done to meet the needs of the army. And now the production of clothes, or the production of cotton clothes or other things was reduced. So suddenly Indian mills had a vast home market to supply. So suddenly the Indian production was increased. And also one more event helped to grow Indian industries. The Indian factories were also called upon to supply war needs, not to the arms, but other supplies such as the jute bags, cloth for army uniforms, tents and leather boots, and all other needs were demanded from the Indian factories. So this was also one of the main important event that led to the growth of Indian industries. And next let us see. So as the First World War was over, after the First World War, Manchester could never replace its old position in Indian market. Now they could not replace their own position. Before they had a strongest strongest strong capture in Indian market. Now they could not capture their, could not regain again in Indian market. And the Manchester also could not compete with USA, Germany and Japan. So the economy of Britain was crumbled after the war. After the war, the British economy was also crumbled, and therefore cotton production was also collapsed, and export of cotton clothes from the Britain fell dramatically. So as a result, the position of Manchester fall down, and they could not compete with other countries as well as the Indian market. Then we'll deal the next. The small scale industries predominate